All right, let's dive into the fascinating and sometimes mysterious world of jellyfish. We're about to uncover the secrets of these ancient gelatinous creatures, from their strange life cycles to the way they shape entire ecosystems.
Yeah, and maybe we'll even bust a few myths along the way. I mean, right off the bat, jellyfish kind of gives you the wrong idea, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's a bit like calling a starfish a fish. I mean, it's close, but not quite there. So
Right.
what exactly are we talking about when we talk about jellyfish?
Well, they're definitely not fish. They're invertebrates, and they actually belong to a group called cnidarians. Think of them like ancient relatives of corals and sea anemones. Now, what makes jellyfish special is their unique set of features. You know, that bell-shaped body, the trailing tentacles, and just that incredible gelatinous makeup. I mean, they're basically made of water.
It's really amazing how something that seems so simple can have such a long history. We're talking about creatures that have existed for hundreds of millions of years, right?
Oh, at least 500 million, maybe even closer to 700 million, which means they were around way before the dinosaurs.
Wow.
And when you really think about it, that says a lot about how resilient and adaptable they are. I mean, they've survived some pretty major upheavals in Earth's history.
So we've established they're not fish, they're ancient, and they're incredibly tough. But what about that life cycle? I've heard it's pretty wild.
Oh, yeah, you could say that. Get ready for something truly bizarre. Okay, so it all starts with a fertilized egg. Pretty standard, right? Well, that egg develops into this tiny, free-swimming larva. It's called a planula. And this planula doesn't just float around aimlessly. Eventually, it attaches itself to a surface, and get this, it transforms into something that looks a lot like a sea anemone. It's called a polyp.
Okay, so we've got egg, larva, polyp. At what point do we get the jellyfish bells and the tentacles?
Well, here's where things get really interesting. This polyp, you see, it can bud off into multiple baby jellyfish. They're called ephyrae. It's almost like a single polyp can give rise to an entire swarm of these miniature jellyfish. Wow.
And then from there, they develop into that full-grown Medusa form, the one we all recognize.
So it's like a biological magic trick. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around these creatures going through such a drastic change.
I know, right? And to make things even more mind-boggling, some jellyfish can actually skip certain stages entirely. Or, get this, they can even reproduce by just splitting in half. Talk about having
It's
options.
like they've got this whole arsenal of survival strategies at their disposal. But speaking of survival, how do they even move around? They don't exactly have powerful fins or a tail, do they?
Well, you're right. Their movement, it's really unique. It all comes down to that bell-shaped body. So when the muscles in that bell contract, it forces water out, and that propels the jellyfish forward. And here's the fascinating part. The bell is so elastic that it automatically recoils, which draws more water in for the next push.
So it's like a living, breathing, pulsating jet propulsion system.
Exactly.
That's incredibly efficient. It is. Studies have actually shown that jellyfish are even more efficient swimmers than fish. They've really mastered the art of moving through water with very little effort.
This is where I get a bit confused, though. They're graceful, they're efficient, but they don't have brains,
Right.
right? So how on earth do they sense their surroundings and, find their way around?
Ah, that's the big question, isn't it? You'd think a creature that's been around for so long would have a super complex nervous system. But jellyfish kind of break all the rules. Instead of having a centralized brain, they have these rudimentary sensory organs called rhopalia, and they're located around the edge of their bells.
So what can these ropalia actually sense? I mean, are we just talking light and dark? Or is it more complicated than that?
It's a lot more than just light and dark. These rhopalia have structures that can detect light, obviously, but also water vibrations. They can even sense odor and orientation. So think of it as like this built-in multisensory system that lets them perceive their environment in ways we're only beginning to understand.
I remember reading something about box jellyfish actually having eyes. Is that true? I mean, are we talking about the same kind of eyes that we have? Or is it something completely different?
Yeah. And this is where things get really wild. Some jellyfish, like those box jellyfish, have actually evolved remarkably complex eyes. And get this, they even have lenses that are capable of forming images. They're basically some of the only jellyfish out there with actual vision, which makes their hunting strategies even more fascinating.
Wait, hold on. So we're talking about creatures with no brains,
Mm.
but some of them have eyes that can see images. That just blows my mind. It really makes you rethink our ideas about intelligence and complexity in the animal world.
It really does. Jellyfish are like living proof that nature is just full of surprises, and honestly, we've only just scratched the surface when it comes to their world.
So we've got these ancient, brainless creatures with complex life cycles, efficient movement, and some even have vision. What's next on our deep dive into the world of jellyfish? Where do they fit in the grand scheme of ocean life?
That's a great question, and it actually leads us right into their role as both predators and prey. It's this really delicate balance of survival that plays out all over the ocean.
All right, I'm ready to explore that delicate dance. Take it away.
When it comes to surviving in the ocean, it's really all about finding your place. And jellyfish, they've definitely found theirs. They're pretty skilled predators, and they use those trailing tentacles armed with stinging cells called nematocysts to capture their prey.
Yeah, I've always been a bit wary of those stinging tentacles. It's like this hidden weapon just waiting to strike. But what are they actually going after?
Well, their menu is surprisingly diverse. I mean, it can be anything from those tiny plankton, drifting around, to small fish, even other jellyfish. They're opportunistic, that's for sure. They'll pretty much take advantage of whatever happens to drift their way.
So it's a bit of a jellyfish eat jellyfish world out there.
You could say that. But it's not quite a one-way street. Because while they're these formidable predators, jellyfish also end up as prey themselves. Larger fish, for example, sea turtles, even some seabirds, rely on jellyfish as a food source. It's that whole circle of life thing.
Yeah, it's a constant reminder that even those creatures that seem really fearsome, they still have their vulnerabilities, right? I mean, it's all about balance in the end.
Exactly. And when that balance gets thrown off, that's when things can get, interesting. Maybe a little concerning, even. Take jellyfish blooms, for instance.
Oh, yeah, those massive swarms of jellyfish. It seems like we're seeing them more and more often these days. I've seen some pretty incredible footage of those blooms. I mean, it's mesmerizing, but also a bit unsettling at the same time.
Yeah.
What's causing this to happen?
Well, it's complicated. There are multiple factors involved. But things like climate change, for example, then you've got nutrient pollution coming from agricultural runoff, and even overfishing of their natural predators. All of these things are contributing to the rise of these jellyfish blooms.
So are we maybe seeing a shift in the balance of the ocean ecosystem, where jellyfish are starting to become more dominant? Is that something we should be worried about?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, these blooms, they're not just a pretty sight. They could have a real impact. Think about it. You could have clogged fishing nets, interference with power plants, even tourism can be affected. And of course, there's the potential threat to human health with more people getting stung.
Which brings me to a question I've always had. Are all jellyfish stings the same? Like, I've been stung before and it wasn't fun, but I've heard some jellyfish stings can be really painful, even deadly.
You're right, not all stings are created equal. The severity, it really depends on the species of jellyfish and the strength of their venom. Some jellyfish, like that box jellyfish we talked about earlier, they have venom that can cause excruciating pain. And in some cases, it can be fatal.
Okay, that's a good reminder to be aware of what kind of jellyfish are in the waters where you're swimming. But it also makes me realize just how much diversity there is in the jellyfish world. We've got these gentle giants just gracefully pulsing through the water, and these tiny, almost invisible creatures packing a serious punch.
It's that diversity that makes them so fascinating. And don't forget about their incredible resilience. Remember, they've been around for hundreds of millions of years. They've witnessed some pretty major changes on this planet.
It's pretty humbling when you think about it. They were here long before us, and chances are they'll be here long after we're gone. But speaking of our relationship with jellyfish, I've heard that some cultures actually eat them. Is that true?
Absolutely. In a lot of Asian countries, jellyfish are considered a delicacy. They're often dried to preserve them, and then they can be prepared in different ways. Shredded with seasonings, added to salads, even eaten raw sometimes.
I gotta say, that's not something I'd be rushing to try. But it's really interesting how different cultures view and interact with these creatures. Speaking of interacting, I've seen those videos of those tiny little fish living among the tentacles of jellyfish. How do those fish avoid getting stung? Seems pretty risky to me.
It's a great example of symbiosis, where two different species benefit from living together, those little fish have actually evolved this special mucus coating that protects them from the stinging cells.
So it's a win-win for everyone. The fish get protection, and maybe the jellyfish even get a little help luring in prey with those little guys hanging around.
Exactly. And that's just one example of the really fascinating relationships that jellyfish have with other creatures. They can be hosts, predators, even a food source. It's amazing how many different roles they play in the ocean.
It sounds like we've only just started to understand their impact on these ecosystems.
Yeah.
But beyond that ecological significance, are there any other ways they interact with human society? I mean, are they just these fascinating creatures to look at, or is there something more to the story?
Oh, there's definitely more to it. Believe it or not, jellyfish are making waves in the world of biotechnology.
Hold on. Biotechnology. Those gelatinous blobs. I'm intrigued. Tell me more. Biotechnology and jellyfish. Okay, I'm hooked. How are they making a splash in that world? It's not like they're out there building underwater labs, are they?
Haha, no. But what they are doing is pretty remarkable. Remember how we talked about some jellyfish being bioluminescent? They can produce their own light?
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things that makes them so mesmerizing to watch. It's like having these underwater fireworks just floating around.
Exactly. Well, scientists have managed to isolate a protein from one particular jellyfish species that's actually responsible for that glow. It's called green fluorescent protein, or GFP.
GFP. That does sound familiar. I think I vaguely remember it from a biology class way back when. But how does a glowing protein connect to biotechnology?
Well, scientists are clever, right? They figured out a way to use this GFP as a kind of biological marker, so they can actually attach it to other proteins or genes, and then when those genes become active in a cell or even a whole organism, they light up. You can actually see them under a special microscope.
So it's like having a built-in highlighter to study what's going on inside cells. That's so cool. What kind of research is this GFP actually used for?
Oh, it's been revolutionary. Scientists are using it to track the spread of cancer cells, study how neurons are communicating in the brain, even engineer crops that can resist diseases.
Wow. I mean, that's a far cry from those pulsating blobs we see out in the ocean. Who knew jellyfish could have such a huge impact on scientific progress? It really makes you wonder what other secrets they're hiding.
It really shows you the power of nature to inspire new ideas and technologies. And speaking of new and unexpected things, jellyfish have even made their way to the world of home aquariums.
Really? People are keeping jellyfish as pets now. I mean, I've seen those amazing jellyfish tanks at public aquariums, but I never thought you could have one right there in your living room.
Yeah, it's a growing trend. Of course, you need special tanks and you have to be really careful about the water flow and conditions, but for those who are just fascinated by these, otherworldly creatures, a jellyfish aquarium can be a really captivating addition to a home.
I can definitely see the appeal. There's just something so calming and peaceful about watching them move around. It's almost hypnotic, like having a living piece of art right in your home. But okay, we can't talk about jellyfish without addressing the elephant in the room, or maybe I should say the sting in the water. We've talked about the dangers of stings, but for those of us who love to swim in the ocean, what are some ways to avoid a painful encounter?
The most important thing is to just be aware, pay attention to any warning signs at the beach. And if you're swimming in areas known to have jellyfish, just be extra careful. Wearing a wetsuit can provide some good protection too.
And if you do get stung, what's the best thing to do?
First thing, get out of the water right away. If you see any tentacles, try to remove them, but be really careful not to rub the area because that can actually make things worse. Rinsing with vinegar can help neutralize some types of venom, but honestly, the best thing to do is seek medical attention, especially if you're in a lot of pain or you start having any kind of allergic reaction.
So be prepared, be informed. Knowing what to look out for and how to react can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the natural world.
Well, I think it's safe to say we've gone pretty deep into the world of jellyfish today. I mean, from those strange life cycles and their surprising senses to the way they impact entire ecosystems, even human society, it's clear they're much more complex and interesting than I ever realized.
And what's really amazing is how much we still don't know about these creatures. There are so many species out there waiting to be discovered, and scientists are constantly learning new things about their behavior, their biology, their place in the ocean. It's an ongoing journey of discovery.
It really makes you wonder what other incredible things are hidden beneath the waves, just waiting for us to find them. Who would have thought that something seemingly so simple could have such a profound impact? I hope our deep dive today has encouraged you to learn more about these incredible creatures and appreciate the amazing diversity of life in our oceans. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.